Hi everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to kind of do an online prototyping overview and tutorial. And this is important because on May 9th, we're going to be coming together on Saturday, and I'm going to be asking you to present your prototype, an early miniature prototype of your social innovation project. So we're going to be asking you to bring those on May 9th from 2:30 to 4. We're going to get together as a group and we're going to have the opportunity to give feedback to one another and to refine and co-evolve our prototype. So when you present this, you're going to have 4 minutes to present. And you do not need to have a PowerPoint. You do not need to have a video. But you do need to have something. Now, it can be a PowerPoint and it can be a video, and if it are one of those two things, please make sure you send it to me and Angelica prior to you coming to class on Saturday so we can really make sure it's nice and smooth and everything's put together from a logistics point of view. But maybe you bring an object, maybe you bring a process, maybe you bring an opportunity for us to do something together that exemplifies in an experiential way what it is you want to prototype. What variables do you want to check? What assumptions do you want to check around your social innovation project? You have 4 minutes, and we really look forward to what you're going to be presenting. So just a word on what are prototypes. So prototypes are an early draft of what the final result of your project might look like. This means that your prototype is going to go through many iterations. And this one that we're having on March 9th, that's just one opportunity for you to present your miniature prototype and to get some feedback from stakeholders. We will give feedback to one another, and we're going to do this in a format called the Pro Action Cafe. If we look in our course Blackboard site and we go into the class session material, what I have done is I have created a folder in the 3/9/2019 folder called Prototyping Resources for Prototype Presentation on 3/9/2019. So go ahead and click on that. And you'll see right up here is the Presencing Institute toolkit called Prototyping the U on the U. And this is a worksheet that we're going to ask you to complete in advance of your prototype presentation on 3/9/2019. Now, are Angelica and I going to ask you to turn in these worksheets? No, these worksheets are for you, but we do want you to bring them, and believe me, we will have our eyes open and we'll be looking to see if you brought those, and you're going to be using it because it's going to be part of the Pro Action Cafe is kind of going through this. So what is this actually? What is this toolkit that you speak of, Carrie? Well, here it is. So as you can imagine, Otto Scharmer does a nice job. He relates it to the U, and here we are on the U, and here it is, prototyping. And this is what he calls embodying the object of what we're trying to achieve with our social innovation project. Prototyping the new by linking to our head, our heart, and our hands. So this is what he tries to do, and he offers us a wonderful resource, which I highly commend to you. And in fact, Angelica and I are asking you to please fill this out. But before you fill out the worksheet, I want you to ask yourself these questions and maybe make some notes. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but this one I will say is the most important. Number one, is it relevant? Meaning the intention of your prototype. Is what I am trying to do here and to show on a miniature scale on the 9th, does it matter to all the stakeholders involved? And does it matter to society? Often the relevance for each stakeholder is framed in a quite different language and way. So we need to understand if we go back to what is social innovation, why are we in this graduate degree program together? What are we trying to achieve here? We need to understand, is our social innovation project and the prototype we're going to bring on March 9th, is that relevant to the course objectives and what it is we are trying to achieve with the social innovation project? That's just one of the many wonderful questions that he offers for you. He offers you some helpful hints for prototyping. Is your vision a physical space? I know some of you have this vision of a physical space. Is it perhaps a digital experience? So therefore, he says maybe you try a paper prototype that simulates the screens, or maybe you quickly prototype it on a digital platform, a sample website, etc. Don't spend too much time. This is quick. This is play. You get in there, you try it, and you propose it to your audience, which is going to be us on Saturday, and we're going to have some great opportunity for feedback. Is it a service? Is it a physical object? Is it a process that involves a lot of people? These are all examples of prototypes, and these are all things that we would expect if this fits what you are trying to do, if this is relevant to your work and your outcome of having a social innovation project that makes a difference in the world more effectively, more efficiently, and more compassionately and justly, then you can bring any one of these things, or maybe you find something that's off the list here, but you've got to bring it and present it in 4 minutes on Saturday. Now we get into this worksheet, and this is the worksheet that Angelica and I are referring to, and we're asking you to spend some time working through this. Now, Otto Scharmer says this takes an hour and 20 minutes. Or sorry, 120 minutes, so 2 hours, right? He says it takes 2 hours, and you know what? I kind of agree with him. If we're doing this right, and we're spending the amount of time that we really should be spending on prototyping something, I think 2 hours is going to go very quickly for you, because there are so many things we need to answer and really identify in order to move forward with a great prototype that can garner some feedback that will help us co-evolve in class the very thing we're trying to do. So the ones that I would really draw your attention to, and where I would spend the most time, is this item number 3, design, test, and iterate. Iterate, iterate, iterate. He talks about how this iteration can be playful, and it's not a sophisticated prototype, but it's something that we can work with, that gives us ideas, that gives us inspiration, and that helps us to move forward in a way that is able to access the kind of feedback that is just so rich in our cohort, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring something to class on Saturday that elicits the kind of feedback that we know our learning community is capable of, and that we know is going to really grow our project in an important and scalable way. And then he ends with how he always ends, right, on this worksheet, which is integrating the head, the heart, and our hands. And how, I love how he says this. He says, how can I cultivate my interior castle? So that's what we're asking you to do, is to, okay, let me just go through this. We are asking you to bring a prototype and share with us about it for 4 minutes. We are asking you to come with this worksheet, which is available on Blackboard. I just showed you where. Come with it completed as well. And then let me pull up this, because, oh, there's my little prototype, which I might share sometime with you. Let me just be very clear with what it is we are asking you to do. And I have created a slide to do that. So you know me, I love the slides. So what we have is we are asking you to answer these questions within the ProAction Cafe. These are things I want you to be thinking about when you come to class. This is part of prototyping, right? And this is part of really, like I said, eliciting the rich feedback that we know we have in our classroom, and we know that you need and I need for our projects. So, number 1, what is the problem you are trying to solve? Number 1. Some of us already have this worked out in our heads. Some of us are less confident about this answer. This is huge, because remember, social innovation is about solving a social problem more efficiently, more effectively, more compassionately, and more justice in a way that is novel to the user. That is what we're trying to do. So you need to ask yourself, what is the problem I am trying to solve with this initiative, this social innovation project? Who am I trying to target with this? Who is the audience for this solution that I am preparing? What do I know about this audience? Okay. Then what is your solution and what value does it bring? This, excuse me, this is really the core question when we get together. It is, what is your solution? Here's your prototype. You're going to present it in 4 minutes or less, whether it's on a screen, whether it's a process, whether it's an experience, whether it's an actual physical thing. You are going to present it, and you're going to share it to us. What is your solution, and what value does your solution bring? Then when we break up into our groups, we're going to talk about what we already know as the creator of the prototype. What do we already know that has informed this idea of our solution that's going to solve the problem that we've identified? What do we already know? And what do we need to know? What do we need to learn to improve our prototype, to improve our social innovation project into something that can really evolve into something that's pilotable, scalable, and on and on? So what I'd like for you to be able to walk away with next Saturday is to say, okay, I came in with this problem I was trying to solve. Here's my solution. Here's the value that I think it brings. And when you leave, I want you to think, okay, now I need to know more about this aspect. I need to learn more about this aspect. And I would like you to bring into the classroom, in addition to that worksheet that we talked about earlier, and your physical prototype, whether it's on the screen or on a piece of paper or actually something you create physically. In addition to that, I want you to be thinking about what are 3 key assumptions that you are holding about your prototype, about your problem that you are trying to solve, and the solution that you are trying to present. What are 3 key assumptions that you hold about this that you need to test and explore in order to really co-evolve or evolve once you leave the classroom this prototype? This is the kind of questions that we're going to be asking in Pro Action Cafe. These are the kind of things I want you to be contemplating as we are talking. So, with that, I think I'm going to be brave here, guys, and I'm going to give you just a little glimpse of something that I have been prototyping. So I am looking at creating a social media platform. Actually, it's a multimedia platform, and it's called Sustainably Glam. And the subtitle for that is Conscious Living for the Modern Woman. And you're probably thinking, what is she doing? Okay, here's what I'm doing. So I have identified kind of the problem that I'm resonating with, I'm really curious about, and I'm trying to understand is this. The world is in an ecological and social crisis, as the present social and economic infrastructure based on competitive market economy is withering away. And that is a Sharma quote, by the way. This problem is manifest through the depletion and overuse of natural resources, the growing gap between the rich and the poor households, and increased social isolation resulting in burnout, depression, and suicide. And here's the zinger. This is the zinger of the problem I'm trying to solve. This multi-pronged crisis is especially affects and is impacted by women. Okay, so that is the population I am worried about. So I have a little quote that is inspiring. And then my audience is women who care about other women on a global basis. And over here, I have all these positive things that are happening with women globally. You know, for example, women are making 80% of healthcare decisions. Women drive up to 80% of consumer purchasing in this globe. Women are the economy of the U.S. 83% of everything sold in the non-business to business setting is done or influenced by women. And women are graduating in higher numbers and enrolling in 2- and 4-year colleges in higher numbers than men. And women make up nearly a quarter of the 116th congressional voting membership. So this is like all awesome stuff, right? Meanwhile, we get onto this and we have these challenges that I alluded to earlier that I'm trying to solve here with this platform, right? That women are disproportionately affected by climate change, economic inequality, and mental health. And I did some research here to really understand what is going on here, what is so disproportionately happening. So I went through a few of these. You can see that all over the world, men tend to earn more than women. We see that climate change is not a gender-neutral phenomenon. Did you guys know that? Globally, women are more likely to experience poverty and to have less socioeconomic power than men, and this makes it difficult to recover from disasters that affect infrastructure, jobs, and housing. And then mental health. So these are the things that are happening with great non-neutrality, right? Like it's very much affecting women more than men, despite the fact that we have all of these gains as women. So what do we do with this paradox? Okay, that's what I'm saying. And my solution to that is to create an educational and social innovation media platform that supports women who wish to live consciously in ways that honor planetary boundaries, hello Kate Rayworth, while also using their influence to lead social change that promotes equity and well-being for all. I go on to talk about some of the value of that, engagement with and ability to change one's own behaviors, holistic well-being, and the capacity to create change in the world and influence others, and on. I go on about some other values here. Looks like I have two of the same slides, right? And then I have some assumptions that I want to explore there. And I have some products and services that I'm thinking about wanting to get a look at. So that is kind of just me looking at a pilot, right? A prototype, and answering some of those questions that I'm asking you to bring answers to and to explore with us on Saturday. Okay, so this work that I did on this particular media platform, it took a lot of time, but I was very energized by it. And I am really excited to see what kind of feedback and how I can evolve any of the things that I just shared with you. So that's the point of the prototype, right? Like I had a lot of fun doing it, and now I'm really, really looking forward to presenting this. I'm actually in a social entrepreneurship class. I'm going to present this tonight. I'm going to get some feedback from them, and I'm really excited to see what they might have to share with me in terms of how this could be improved, and whether my assumptions in creating this prototype and hopefully eventually a final product, whether my assumptions are reasonable or if they need to be tested, or if they need to completely upend the whole thing and start over. And I'm ready for all of that. And I invite you to do the same. I really invite you to have that readiness and that openness with your head, your hands, and your heart on Saturday when you present your prototype, however it may be, to our class. So I hope this tutorial was interesting and helpful to you. Angelica and I really encourage you to spend the time that's necessary and required to do a good, solid prototype, because you will benefit greatly I know you will benefit greatly from the wonderful feedback and insights that you're going to get from your own cohort and from yourself when you get a chance to present it. And with that, I say thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday the 9th, if not before.